Let's hit the high road. Let's hit the high road. It's the first touch, strong connection. It lays deep in your soul. Feel the kindness strongly coming, 'cause you can achieve your goal. Let's hit the high road. Let's hit the high road.
Hi, this is Nancy Yearall, and welcome to High Road to Humanity. And I have a lovely lady that I met in LA back in February when we were at the Conscious Life Expo. And Carmen Froment is here, and welcome to the High Road.
Thank you, Nancy. It was such a pleasure to meet you at Conscious Life Expo. I still have your little angel.
Oh my
which-
gosh.
Yeah, I have worn it so often. And it's a
Aw.
pleasure to be asked to be with you. I'm honored and I'm looking forward to your questions.
Thank you. Well, you guys, when I met Carmen, she has all these books. She has Awakening, Soul and Journey, What Future of Humanity Could Be. And the one we're going to talk about today is A New Humanity Rising. So there's a lot of cool information. But let me tell you guys a little bit about Carmen. She's going to tell her story, but I want to preface this with just giving you some information. She's a cool lady. So she's born in Quebec. She's from a Catholic background. She developed a love for God that translated into songs. She invented and sang while walking to school. She soon realized, though, that many of her questions remained unanswered. So she had a curious mind and was thirsty for understanding. And so for these mysteries in her teens, and she read a lot of cool books. But then she goes on to say that she joined the airlines as a flight attendant when she was 19 years old. And she felt that there was one way of reaching God, more than one way of reaching God. So she began exploring different avenues. Now, I don't want to give away everything, but she went to live in Vermont for a year to train with a yoga teacher. She ended up um, being learning the teachings of Master Omram. Is that correct? Omram? Okay. So since 1981, she's been studying with this great master. And this is where all this information comes from. Now, I have to tell you, there's good stuff in here, a lot of good stuff. But let's start out with your story. What happened? You say something happened on a flight that changed your vision, that changed everything. Tell your story. What happened, Carmen?
At the time, I was flying to the South Pacific to Sydney. That was my regular route.
Wow.
And it was a night flight, and passengers were sleeping. I was in business class. And this passenger used the lavatory, and then he kind of was hanging around the galley. I offered him something to drink, something to eat, didn't want anything, but he couldn't sleep, obviously.
Okay.
So, and I was not busy, so it was a good time to start a conversation. And he told me he was in the mining industry, which was performing very well back in 2011.
Okay.
But he said it was going to be his last trip. And I said, how is that? He says, well, the economy globally is not what it appears to be.
Mm.
Even me as an executive, I could be done tomorrow. And I may not have any resources to lean back on. So we engaged into a conversation that went from investments to the only thing we didn't talk about was spirituality. And
Wow.
that made me think because I thought somebody so well educated, so
Yeah.
well placed in the world, how come these businessmen, businesswomen don't know about the cosmic moral laws, which are in fact the only laws that are stable? Because
Yes.
human laws, as you know, Nancy, they change with culture, they change with time, they change, and they, sometimes they even contradict oneself from one country to another. So they're not always reliable. Whereas the cosmic moral laws, they apply to all kingdoms, all human
Right.
beings,
Right.
and they're eternal and permanent.
Yeah, and
So,
Carmen, I got to stop you a second because
yeah.
I agree with you. And my new book's coming out. I got to mention this. It's going to be for sale pretty soon, but it's a guide to angel communication and spiritual laws. You don't know this.
Uh, no,
I
I
had to
don't.
interject because we are on the same path. I want to mention this because you talk and you're absolutely right. And this is why I brought the spiritual laws back in to for people to read because it really goes back to those basic laws, how the universe works and how it operates. Please
Mhm.
continue. I had to say that. I was like,
Uh, that,
right on, man.
I look forward to your new book
Thanks.
coming out.
Thanks,
So
Carmen.
this was going to be my last flight because I was on vacation after that, and I go to the
Oh,
south of France for my, I call it my spiritual bain de jouvence, which is my beautifying bath, but that's for my soul. That's not for me physically.
right.
So here I am in the south of France, and I'm thinking about this passenger, and I'm saying, how can we reach out to these businessmen and these businesswomen
Right.
so they become aware that there's something greater than just the materialistic laws? And so I'm attending sunrise at the place called the Rock of Prayer,
Right.
and it was cloudy. There was no visible sun rising that morning. So most of the brothers and sisters who were there for the retreat had their eyes closed, and so my eyes were closed. And I'm still thinking about this passenger. He keeps coming back to mind. And I thought, if they knew about the true politics, the true economy, if women knew the power that they have to change the world.
Yes.
So I went on, and all of a sudden I hear noises around me because brothers and sisters are leaving. The meditation is over. And I'm about to stand up when I felt some hands on my head. So I opened my eyes and I see a being of light so big. And I hear inside of me, you must write this book. People need to know. Now, my intellect was flabbergasted. I had nothing to say. I
Yeah.
was so filled with a feeling.
Wow.
It's like I was empowered by some higher beings. So, and I also had tears coming down because this was
Do you
more than
feel
I
it was
could
God? Do
sustain.
you feel that was God? Because when you're in the presence of God, you would tend to cry. Do you feel that was the divine?
I kind of associated the presence to being the master Omra Mikhaila Ivanov, probably because he's my link to God. So
So
I
it's how you
relate
felt, right?
well. That's
Okay.
how I felt.
Okay.
So when I've got my senses back and I was the last one to leave the Rock of Prayer, I didn't go to breakfast with the community. I retreated to my room and I started to write down the main kind of ideas
Right.
on how to make these businessmen and businesswomen aware of something greater than the materialistic business life. So
Right.
I wrote economy, politics, education, the role of women. And I went on and I had 12 titles. And I said, oh, that would make a fantastic book. But I had never written any book, so I didn't feel qualified. So I went to the publisher of the works of Omra Mikhaila Ivanov. I set up an appointment. I didn't know who was in charge. I had heard the name, but and I presented this project with the vision that I had and the titles that I had. And he said, oh, dear girl, dear sister, we have a publishing schedule of 48 months in advance. And
Oh,
this is how most publishers work, 36 to 48 months in advance.
right.
So he says, when would you like this book to come out? And I said, this year.
Right.
being
Oh,
in
I
the
love it.
airline, being in the airline, it was not surprising that I had jet engine in my projects as well. So he said, you might like to think of another possibility to bring this about, but unfortunately, it doesn't fit in our schedule.
Mm.
So my husband had not come this time at that retreat, which normally he comes every year, but he was busy with a contract. So when I came home, I told him this story, and now he was the one with tears. And he took my hand and he said, I will do everything I can for you to come across with this idea as a book. Now he started to brainwash me. And he said, how about you ask a couple of people around you? He said,
Yeah.
take your friend Mark. He's an entrepreneur. He's a very good businessman. Maybe he can write you a chapter on economy. And then he says, look at this other brother, Pierre. He's in charge of education in British Columbia for the entire province and the French community. Why don't you ask him his opinion? So all in all, I contacted 12 people. Some were from Australia, some were from Europe, some from Canada. And out of the 12, 9 people accepted to do it.
Wow.
We
That's
had to
amazing.
have,
Yeah.
yeah. So we had to have a criteria is that we would come with the teaching of Amram as a source of reference to where we were going. And that means to go towards those cosmic moral laws, to go towards how to establish a golden age, how to bring women in the right light of their power,
Right.
so that we can change humanity in 3 generations. So we had an objective, and all these authors agreed that they would follow this kind of criterias that we set. Took us 2 years. Maybe the publisher was right. You can't do it in a few
Yeah.
months.
I know. I pushed my publisher. I'm like, I need it out by Christmas. So they were like, okay, it's coming out by Christmas. Well, but it's because you wanted to get it out to the world. I wrote down, and I just want to say this is what you say. This book is aimed at stimulating your willpower and encouraging the inner transformation already inscribed at the heart of life.
Well, that's the 3rd book. The 3rd book is to stimulate the willpower. That first book, which I have,
Which is the first one? Is it this?
this
Okay,
was
this
what the
one.
future of humanity can be.
Okay. All right. And they can get these on Amazon, right?
Yes, they are.
Now Balboa published these. Is that correct, Balboa?
Yeah, that's
We did
correct.
these through Balboa. But
Yeah.
this was the first one. Now this one has everybody's taken it, all 9 people.
All 9 people, and that
Okay.
was to bring light to the intellect. Really, that one addresses the intellect. We quote different authors. It is really more intellectual. So
Okay.
the feedback we had from that one, and people told us, wow, that's quite a mouthful.
Well, yeah, it's a lot of
Sometimes
information. I mean, really
that's
good
right.
information. Just so I want to tell the audience, there is so much good information. I spent time reading this one, which is her 3rd one, A New Humanity is Rising. And let's go back a little bit because it's by the Aquarian team. And I need the audience to know that these books are, the author is the Aquarian team. So it are the 9 people, I guess I'm answering my own question. Is that the Aquarian team?
Yes. And when we came to write the 2nd book, which is for the heart, this one is for the heart.
Okay.
And the new humanity is for the willpower. It's to get you moving in the direction of the golden age. So now we have our trinity, the head, the heart, and the will.
I
So
love it.
this is our inner trinity.
Oh,
And the
oh.
authors in the 2nd book, 4 of the same authors of the 1st book are here. And
Okay.
in here, some of the same author plus other authors have
Are in
joined for
here.
this one. So we called ourselves the Aquarian team because, Nancy, Aquarius is coming. And Aquarius is bringing new currents of collaboration, cooperation, brotherhood, universality. And we wanted to be influenced by the currents of the future, the
Right.
Aquarian currents.
Right.
So we name ourselves the Aquarian team, but people sometimes call us the Aquarius, so we end up being fishes in the ocean.
That's all right. You're good fishes in the ocean. Well, I want to talk about some of the stuff in this book. I want to get down to some of the meat and bones in this thing. You talk about the celestial Jerusalem, the human body divinized, and you say Saint John, you talk about Saint John in the book of Revelations. The reason I bring this up, and this is on page 5, God, guys, I could only make it to 5 before I was writing stuff down. This was really interesting. I'm going to read a little bit from this. So according to him, the city coming down from heaven, this is in Revelations in the Bible, is nothing other than a regenerated human being standing on a foundation made of precious stones. The virtues in each of the doors is a pearl. I love this. The pearl being the symbol of purity, he claims that all of the openings of a human being, eyes, ears, mouth, and others, must be kept pure so that the communication with heaven can always be established. And that's like, I really want to talk about this because I connect with the divine. I teach the audience to bring the light in, to ground, to connect. You talk about this, you have meditations. You also talk about the light, color, and sound. And we only have a 45-minute show, but I want to talk about some of this stuff because if you go back and try to look at some of the things that, and you reference the Bible, you reference, I think, the Quran, different things like that, you do reference in this book. But you talk about the medicine of the future, how we will be healed by light and color and sound. Can you elaborate a little bit on this?
Well, the philosophy of Master Omram is based on the sun, because the sun is the source of life, the source of light, the source of warmth. So when we talk about colors and light, what is the best source of light? It is the sun. And when you see a rainbow, you need to have certain elements. You need to have droplets of water. You need to have a source of light hitting those droplets of water. And then you see all the 7 colors. They're like the 7 spirits.
I know.
These colors each has a frequency.
Yeah.
That frequency is connected to elements that become potassium, iron, calcium. All these elements are part of creation. So when we nourish ourselves with the light and with the 7 spirits of the 7 colors, we capture these elements. So, okay, we're used here on earth to take vitamins and fruits and bite into things. But if we become more subtle, we
Right.
can draw these elements from the prana, from the ether.
Right.
And there are people I mentioned in the book that they are pranic people. They just live on this subtle substance. Well, one has to be ready to reach that level of feeding oneself just on prana. But in the meantime, we can bridge our food physically with maybe the purest, the freshest, and the more organically grown possible. But at the same time, when we meditate, we can draw these elements from the light,
Right.
from the sun. So
Yeah.
one of the practices is to attend sunrise. And so we attend sunrise, and through our practice, we do the pranayama breathing. And in these breathing, that's when I bring in the 7 spirits of the 7 colors.
Okay.
And I say, give me the elements that my body is made out of,
Right.
so that I fortify my body and strengthen my soul and fuse with spirit, with those 7 spirits of the 7 colors. So
Right.
I really think this will be the medicine
No,
of the future.
It is. It is. And I got to talk about this because I talk about it on the show and I bring in the colors most daily. Now, I visualize the light coming in the crown chakra and coming down. I also bring in the colors because the colors are healing and they have frequency, and each color has a different healing frequency. Now, I do it. I'm going to share a secret. I don't do this very often, but I do it like this. I sing it. Red and yellow and pink and green, purple and orange and blue. You can see the rainbow, see the rainbow, see the rainbow too. And that's how I do it. And that's how I remember. And I have to teach
Lovely.
everybody this. Now, I'm going to tell you what she's got in the book. Red is called the spirit of life. Red is associated with life and love of all creatures. Orange is the spirit of sanctity. Orange improves our health and gives us the desire for perfection. I'm not going to read them all. You're going to have to buy the book, you guys. I'll read one more. Indigo is the spirit of strength, the spirit of royalty, and shares about the same properties as blue. And I agree with you that if we could sit down and meditate and just visualize the colors coming in from the ether, like you said, because they're there. And what I liked in your book, what you said in your book, which I thought was so interesting, and people will relate to this, it's like electricity. We can't see electricity, but it's there. And we can't see the colors, but they're there. And now we know I just knew intuitively. Did you, or did you learn this from Omar?
I did not know consciously, but I was always attracted to bright colors. That I knew I like bright colors.
Mm-hmm.
It's only by realizing the beauty of a crystal. If you put a crystal by the sun and
Mm-hmm.
you see the color reflected, I
Mm-hmm.
was mesmerized by the beauty, the subtlety of those colors. And that's when my investigation brought me to realize they are the seven spirits of the seven colors, which were part of Genesis and the creation.
No,
Wow, this
I
this was
know.
profound.
Well, and let's talk about the power of sound. And I love how you use the analogy of Jericho
Yes,
and the wall, because that's used in the Bible too, where, sound has such healing properties, but sounds powerful. And you talk about how it's possible maybe the pyramids were created with sound. Talk
yeah,
about some of this,
that's right.
Carmen.
Well, if we start from a very heavy materialistic point, when an army goes left, right, do you know that they break the step when they come over a bridge? Because the power is so good that the bridge could collapse. Now, this is like the very materialistic understanding of the power of sound.
Okay.
But if we rise our consciousness and realize that sound was part of creation, the aum of creation.
Mm.
So sound, and it should be, we should aim for a harmonious sound, because Imamoto, this author, he did a lot of studies with the
Water.
power of sound on water
Mhm.
and how it can create disharmonious forms, and
Mhm.
plants end up dying when you play heavy metal music. Whereas if you play some of the classical or choir music, the plants are thriving. It affects us too. When we
Yes.
listen to boom, 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 heavy metal, heavy music, we don't realize how our subtle bodies are not happy with this kind of music. And we may feel half an hour later angry at something or impatient with something, not realizing that that music is disturbing our aura,
Our
our
energy
subtle
field.
bodies, our
Yeah.
energy field. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So to surround ourselves with pure colors, with beautiful sound, it's all part of our future as we become more and more integrated in our soul and spirit.
Right.
We are growing in that direction, and there's more and more attention. Just look on YouTube how much music there is for healing, and it's normally not heavy metal music that
Well,
you
yeah.
hear.
And and I've been doing the tapping. I really like the tapping where you tap the meridians,
Yeah.
because we are energetic beings. And I love the tapping because it changes the programming. Anyway, I just
Yeah,
think that's
yeah,
really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I agree. I know this
You tap
tapping.
it?
I took a course. Yes,
I
yes.
love it. I know. I tap all the time. My daughter calls. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm tapping. I'm sorry, I can't talk to you right now. I'm in my tap." And they're not long, but if you guys don't know about it, I'll tell the audience, check it out, because it's basically just hitting on the meridians, which are the energy fields in your body. And this is kind of like acupuncture without the needles, is how
Okay.
I look at it. Because if you don't
Yeah,
like to go get acupuncture, but you want to change your life and change your energy field and change the flow, tapping is
yeah.
amazing. I do want to talk about, you talk in the book about a good friend whose mother greatly appreciated the initiate and clairvoyant Rudolf Steiner. Now, this guy came from the early 1900s, and he says in the future, the soul will be eliminated through medication. Um, he says on the pretext of a point of view, he says the jab will be invented and then administered as early as possible, given at birth, so that human beings are unable to think about the existence of the soul and spirit. Man, this hit me hard. And I know we have to be careful about what we say if we want to get this out there today, but let's talk about this, because this is people who are in control, trying to control humanity. And I'm just going to say this and then I'll let you do your thing, but it's so important. I'm teaching everybody in my book, you're teaching everybody how to connect with the divine, because that's how we stay healthy, vibrant, and that's how we evolve, and that's how we raise our consciousness. And I get the feeling, and well, I don't get the feeling, I know that the powers that be want to stop that. And this guy talks about it as a clairvoyant. You talk about it in the book. It's so important. Please elaborate on this.
It's not surprising that we have reached that stage because medicine has become a very materialistic science. And the desire for profit and the desire, it's all part of discovering ourselves through materiality. But there's only so far you can go in materialistic values. It's like the ultimate code. You can go to minus 273. After that, it's like paralysis, nothing happens. But
you can only buy so much stuff, right?
Well, the materialistic science is like the cone where you cannot go any lower than the bottom of the cone. Spiritual life is like going towards heaven, and then it goes to infinity. So as long as we support a materialistic point of view, whether it is science or whether it is finances or education, as long as it follows a materialistic point of view, it will fall through profit, power, and prestige. That's what is behind this ego work. So whatever is invented, whether it's a jab or whether it's a pill or whether it is some kind of tricks that tells you you will be
food,
by food, then it numbs people. What it does is it, like greasy food, the bad food, it lowers your frequency and keeps you just mechanically working, materialistically working. Well, the danger of supporting the materialistic point of view is that the soul is distant from integrating the body. The role of humanity at the moment is to bring spirit into matter. We are still into involution or descending momentum. Spirit has not fully materialized because the proof of it is we have very little power of our thought that can change anything. Had spirit fully integrated into all ourselves, we would have a thought and it would become true. It would manifest. So we are far. So if we separate the abilities of spirit, which is omnipotent, omniscience, and omnipresent,
and we are creators, and we get that creation, that spark of the divine. I have to say that because the spark is what we have. We are so blessed. We're blessed than any other creature on this planet or on this universe because we have the spark of the divine. I want to say that.
And if we disconnect from that part of the divine, we become robotic, which we just become like artificial beings, because that inspiration, that joy of life, all that, it comes from spirit. It comes from our soul. Our soul is found between matter and spirit. So our soul is the one that gets us into movements of life. And if we separate ourselves by our way of living, by what we ingurgitate or by what we get through our skin, it's very possible that, like Rudolf Steiner said, we will lose our aspiration for the divine. We will no longer be able to become sons and daughters of God incarnated on the planet. In the chapter about where is humanity on this scale of evolution, we see that we are in the fifth race, in the fifth culture. In the sixth race, which is far distant in the future, we will start letting go of our physical body because spirit will be so present in us. We
Right.
will be so divine that we are going back to the Father's house. We're going back to our original state of bliss, and we will let go one by one of our bodies. That means our physical body, our mental body, our emotional bodies, and then we'll get back into the causal, buddhic, and atmic bodies, and we will be pure light. But not if we lose the contact with the divine through our soul and spirit. That's
Right.
why it's important to have discernment, to
Right.
do some research and be aware. What are the motive of the materialistic medicine?
Well, they don't want to. They don't want to do right. They don't want to follow the universal laws. Let's just say it. They don't want to follow these spiritual laws that I've written about or that you talk about. They
That's
don't want to go
right.
to the light. They want to stay here in this material world and keep reincarnating and keep having money and material things. But that does not bring joy, like you said. There is
No.
no joy there. I feel, and I think you pretty much said it, that we all came here to learn this, and it's each individual soul's evolution to go to learn to go let go of the material and go back to God, go back to the
The
creator,
divine, to the
divine.
creator.
And we all
Yes.
will do that. There's so much in here, you guys. There's so much in this book. You have to check it out. I have to say, I want to talk a little bit about female, because I've always felt this way, and you talk about it in the book. You talk about male and the female. You talk about, I thought this is so interesting, so I'm just going to read what I wrote down. Masculine has the power to create. This is just profound. So I want you guys to really listen to this, what she wrote. The masculine has the power to create, but the women are the ones that bring things into visibility, tangible. We're the ones that actually make it happen. I believe, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. This is why the women are taken out of the Bible. This is why the women are put down, because the women are the creators. We're the ones who give birth. We're the ones who do all these things. And the men don't want us to use this power, but the women are coming back, and then the men want to be women. I mean, what is going on here, Carmen?
Well, the greatest secret of women, we know subconsciously, but we don't know consciously. It is the women that form the baby in the womb. It's not the men, it's the women.
Right.
Cosmic intelligence has given women the magnetism to attract the particles that will form the baby. That they didn't know that. They knew that they form babies in their womb, but they didn't know which was the process. If we go back into the eternal masculine, the eternal feminine, it's like my best representation to explain this is like God is a dot, and the dot is everywhere present, everywhere present. But God decided he needed to manifest himself so that he'd be discovered. So God came out of a point, and out of the point came a line. And out of this line, there's two ends, two poles, the eternal masculine, the eternal feminine. And it's only by the eternal masculine and feminine connecting with other masculine and feminine that you have masculine, feminine form the triangle and form the child. So men and women form the child. The acid and the base form the salt. The electricity, magnetism form movement. So like the divine plan or the blueprint of the universe has the eternal masculine and the eternal feminine. The eternal masculine is the seed is projected out. The seed is given, the seed of creation. The women, she attracts the particles to put substance around that seed and forms things. So there's a saying in French that says, what woman wants, God wants, because the woman has the power to manifest. She has the keys to bring into realization. And when the church did away from the feminine principle, when they associated it with hell or with the
Because it was
devil,
fear.
or
It was fear.
it was ignorance. They were ignoring the principles that God created out of himself, the eternal masculine, feminine. If you remove one or the other, you cannot have physical manifestation.
Right, we need balance. We got to come
You
back into
need the
balance.
two. And
Yeah,
balance doesn't mean that it's static. Balance is like an oscillation between the feminine and the masculine, so that life always circulates. So it's like we say the priority, or masculine is the number one and feminine is the number two. It's not in value of numbers. It is in moral values that they are equally important.
Right.
In that sense, they are
we need
equal.
one to have the other. Right, we need both.
But in life, you have the polarization. And Nancy, I got to share this with you. I'm preparing for a big talk coming up at Natural Expo in Maryland in October. And my talk will be about the cosmic balance, discovering the eternal masculine feminine within. So as I'm preparing for my talk, and I share this ahead of time with you, is that in this eternal masculine feminine, when you know how to polarize yourself properly, you can harmonize relationships so more easily. And what it means, how I translate it in a nutshell, is if somebody, like right now, I'm the one expressing myself. So it's my masculine principle projecting. You are in your feminine principle because you are welcoming the information.
Right.
Now I take a pause, you take over. You become the masculine principle. You're the one transmitting information. I go into my feminine mode, into receiving.
Right.
If we knew that between our partners, between our friends, employees, employers, when to polarize ourselves, we would have wonderful exchanges. And you'll see where I'm going with this, because if you have too positive, too emitting, you're going to have conflicts.
Right. And
If you
that's why
have-
there's so much conflict. Everybody wants to be,
Yes,
everybody wants to be the masculine. Nobody wants to be the feminine.
yeah. And when two feminine are together, two person who are receptive, it becomes boring. There's no
Yeah,
life.
there's nothing going on.
Nothing is going on. It's dead stuff. So that brings us to understanding what is happening presently with this transgender
Yeah, what's-
ideology.
Yeah.
How we need to understand this is that we have both within.
Right.
We have the masculine, feminine within us. Our intellect tends to be more masculine. Our heart tends to be more feminine. Our willpower, again, is emissive. In our soul, we are receptive.
So-
The spirit is always masculine. The spirit is always ready to deliver.
Okay, but I have a question, Carmen. Why do we? Okay, now I just want to know your take on this. Why do you think we're having so much of this transgender then?
I think because people are feeling the influence to integrate the feminine, masculine within, but because we are so materialistically involved, it translates into a change of sex physically, but it's not where it needs to be
It's
understood.
a change of consciousness. It's a change
It's-
of consciousness
it's
in the
integrate-
heart, in the heart.
And it's
Yes.
integrating the property of each within ourselves. And I'll take an example. Let's say a boy decides that he feels more like a girl.
Mhm.
So it means he's more passionate, more emotional, more artistically influenced. Well, that's his feminine within. And in order to balance this feminine within, he has to develop the masculine qualities of strength, of
Right.
creation, of pushing forward in order, like the sex of the man that stands up. And whereas the sex of woman is all inwardly. So
Right.
those basic manifestation of the sexes is also for our psychic life.
Carmen, I
It's-
can relate to this. I got to tell you, I can relate to this because I am doing my own thing. So when I go out and I have to do business, I do it more with my masculine. But when I do a reading, I'm more compassionate and use my feminine. So, but you have, I love what you said. You have to use both. You can't just always be like, oh, I can't do that. Or you can't just be, oh, like harsh, harsh, harsh. There has to be the balance. I love this so much. I'm so glad you're going to talk to Marilyn. I'll have to find out where you're going. But I just think that this is really cool because it makes a whole lot of sense, because I almost feel like a lot of the young people right now, it's like a fad, and they're confused. They don't know what's happening with the energy. They don't know what's going on, and it's almost like they're doing it, and I think there'll be a lot of regret. People going out there and doing
Yeah,
sex changes. I mean, I'm not judging, no judgment here. I'm just
no.
seeing what I'm observing, what's
Uh,
happening.
tell you the truth, I
Yeah,
think the confusion in the educational system in the
right.
Western world is on purpose. So,
Absolutely.
so that we no longer identify with any sexes.
I agree.
And that's to me aiming at robotic AI beings where we will all be full of chips and we will only operate from a materialistic point of view and a robotic point of view. And that's very dangerous. It's not the intention of creation and cosmic intelligence. And I'm not sure it will have any chance of success because there are invisible beings who are watching what's happening as an experiment on the planet. And they're
Right.
starting to think we're going a bit overboard
Yep.
with certain choices and tendencies. But the fact that it is natural that we seek our complement, because being just in a masculine role is not sufficient. There's no intuition in there
And there's
unless
love, the heart.
unless the feminine has been developed at the core of it. And there's many men right now who are spiritually awakened, who are seeking to tap into their feminine principle by trying to develop intuition, being more sensitive. And so it's being sent by the cosmos on us that we discover our eternal masculine feminine within. We don't have to change sex for that.
You just have to change our consciousness for that.
That's right.
And this is why I teach people how to connect with the divine source. You can say God, you can say energy, you can say source, whatever you want to say, because we have to reconnect. We've become disconnected from our energy source. It's like we're a computer and we need to plug back into the light. And then we become more light and we become more joyful and happy. I just love your book because it talks about all this stuff. You talk about humans will be the third testament.
Ah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. So I'm just, well, and this comes down to like, and that I'm not going to give her whole book away, but that's towards the end of the book. Now, I'm going to give you my take and I want you to expand upon what you talk about here. I believe, I feel, I know that the good will prevail, the light will prevail. We are working. I'm a light worker. I'm here doing this work. You're a light worker here doing this work. There's so many of us. Like you said, there's a lot of, ETs, workers of the light that we can't see right now, helping us to do this work and to raise the consciousness and supporting us, by the way. I want to say that too.
Mhm.
Supporting us while we do this work. I feel like we're going to make it. We're going to get there. How do you feel about this right now? You talk about this.
You're right.
know?
Destiny is calling us to
Uh-huh.
be at our best. We were made into the resemblance of God and the likeness of God. Well, the resemblance is through our divine spark, but we don't have the likeness yet because we have not fully integrated spirit into every aspect of our life. So, you go to school, you go to university, you get diplomas, and you get better positions because of your diplomas. But in the future, it will be the quality of human interactions that will make people superior or better positioned than others. And that will be because people are becoming role models. That means their mind is luminous, their heart is so loving and warm, and they will be integrating spirit through them. Their creation will be awakening the super consciousness. All the arts should have one goal: awakening the super consciousness,
Yes.
not just showing your subconscious and entrails and whatever on screens that you don't even know where the head is from the toe or whatever. The art coming from the subconscious is not what is influencing us towards our divine self, But when we integrate spirituality and spirit, the art should be reflecting heavenly art. It should be influencing us to super consciousness. So once we have a light mind, a loving heart, and arts or willpower that creates beautiful things, our diploma will be that we are the new humanity. We
Yes.
are rising, and we will be the third testament. We will be living books. We will be solar models, because the model of the sun is the light, the warmth, and the life. And the life translate into
The light. And
creative
that's what
action.
Jesus said. I am the truth and I am the light.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
I love it. I love
So
it.
there's so
Carmen?
much to look forward. It's
I think so too. Okay, I'm excited about this, and I'm excited about having wonderful people like you on the show, because I'll tell you what, the work you've done is amazing, and the books
Thank you.
that you've put together are fabulous. You guys, it's a new humanity is rising. It's by the Aquarian team. You guys got to pick this up. I know it's available on Amazon. The other two books are What the Future of Humanity Could Be, and the second one is Awakening Our Soul Journey, and by the Aquarian team. And I just have to thank you, because Carmen, you're really helping out. It was so cool to meet you. I only met a couple people that I brought on my show, but you were such a bright light when I met you in LA. So I'm so grateful to you.
I connect with
coming
you
up.
as a light worker. We are the builders of the new humanity,
Yeah.
and we want a golden age. We are voting for the golden age.
Yes, right
And if
on.
there's enough of us voting for the golden age, we will make it happen.
We are going to make it happen. Tell people how they get in touch with you.
We have a website called theaquarianteam.com. We have Instagram with the Aquarian Team. We have the Facebook under the Aquarian Team. We go to different shows like the Conscious Life Expo in LA.
I hope you're coming next year. I'm going to be there. Are you going to be there next year?
We thought of going to Santa Fe. We thought of doing a
Oh!
smaller one. We're not sure yet. We
I'll
have
be in LA if
pathways,
you're there. I'll be there.
pathways on October 6th.
Okay.
So the Aquarian Team will be there, and we'll have the books of Omra Mikhail Ivanov. And by the way, if you like some of the subjects I covered, I explain what the science of the initiates are by going on Times TV towards a solar civilization. It's called The Science of the Initiates. So I explain so many things there. It's a whole hour of information.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I've got to give some information out about myself. I'm going to be in Manhattan in October, actually, now that you bring it up. And I'll be doing my angel readings, and I'll be speaking about the angels and how to connect with God, the divine, and your own guardian angel. Also, if you guys are interested, pick up my book, Wake Up, The Universe is Speaking to You. This is my first book. The new book is going to be out soon for pre-order. It is a guide to angel communication using spiritual law. I am here in Connecticut, and I am doing angel readings. So if you're in the area, if you're in Boston or New York, or you're around here, you can come and see me, and I will do a personal angel reading. If not, you can book on my website, nancyyearout.com. I have to thank you. It's just been such a pleasure, Carmen. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy. Blessings to you.
Blessings to
And happy work for heaven. It's the best boss you can ever get.
I love it. Happy work for heaven. All right, you guys, have a great week, and I will talk to everybody soon. We'll have another show soon. Thanks for following us, and God bless.
Hold your head high, the world is coming. Watch the colors lift your soul. Connect the dots and keep the motion. Can achieve your goal. Let's hit the high road.